Sweet. Just putting this up just for, posterity's sake right here. We're gonna have a giveaway. Well, welcome, y'all, to Throwback Thursday number 3. We are going to play through this album right here, When I Was Everything, there for the Insta folks. And I have some friends in the room, which is outstanding. Some, come on. Yeah, there it is. Excellent, some crows in the room. Friends that have been friends for a long time, since I actually moved to Nashville, so I thought it was fitting to have them join me tonight in this. My friend Paul, who lives up the street. Yep. You can't see him. There he is. My friend Matt and his wife Kristen, when she gets through virtual schooling with her children. Yeah. And Matt lives down the street. And my friend Mitch and Jeannie, who live down the street that way as well. And Mitch is the guy that actually I did 5 albums with, and this was our first one. So I'm going to read some stuff from notes from the studio, which is kind of fun. I'm going to start with that. Day 1, June 21st, 2004. I believe it's 2004, right? 2004. We started, we had just gotten engaged before because it was June. Okay, awesome. Coming back to me. We started early this morning in the studio at 8:30 a.m. With a final conversation about the plan for this record. We, meaning my producer, Mitch Dane, and I. Mitch Dane. And in answering his question of what do I want this record to sound like, I said, I want it to be a cool record, not a nice sounding record, because I feel like I've done that already. Not that that is a bad thing, but I want to be a little more edgy, and when people hear it for the first time, I want people to say, man, that sounds cool. I really had no idea, obviously, what I wanted. Mitch nodded approvingly. Not that the word cool really defines a direction in which to head, but it certainly relates a vibe and a feeling. Now, in understanding cool, since we never define the word specifically, I hope we don't have different versions of what cool means. I mean, what if cool for me means a more mild day with sunglasses on, vibing with a cigarette hanging out of my mouth kind of thing? And what if cool for Mitch means 80s grooves with fat bass and disco loops with clarinet on every tune? Yeah, that does sound cool. Wouldn't that be funny? Thankfully, this was not the only conversation we had. We spoke in person a couple of times and deciding to work together and bantered back and forth via email about ideas after that. But still, we didn't clearly define a sound or direction, so the canvas is somewhat more or less blank than I really want it to be in entering the studio. I must say that is exciting as well as scary. But I think there comes a time when you need to let go and trust that the songs will direct where you should go musically. Usually, though, that is when you are well into the process. So needless to say, I feel like I'm starting this record a little unprepared, but excited and ready to see it all unfold, fully trusting Mitch and his abilities. That's my first mistake. I'll watch you breathe in deep. With each breath you draw in, you are that much closer to sleep. Falling through the window, the light moves across the bed. Comfort is here, but it's truth you need instead. You want to touch, you want to feel, to be saved by something real. Salvation comes when you shed your skin and let me. Get to you, the more you hide that want to touch, you want to feel, to be saved by something real. Salvation comes when you shed your skin. Let me in, let me in, let me in, let me in. Here we go, here we go. Throwback number 3. All right, day 4 from the studio. Entry number 3, June 24th, Nashville, Tennessee. I got a chance to sleep in a little bit this morning, thankfully, as we started at 10 a.m. I have heard a lot of studio stories about starting the day at 10 p.m. or some ridiculous hour and working all the way through the night, but not on this project. We are a 9 to 6 bunch, which I like. Mitch has a family and is incredibly protective of his time at home, and I dig that about him. He has his priorities in line. I still love that about my friend Mitch. Once we're done, able to move on to tracking the bass and drums for the 2 remaining songs, You're Not Here and Did Not Draw. Of course, these are all working titles and may change by the time the record is released. I usually come up with titles and then adjust them accordingly when looking at the record as a whole. And sometimes they adjust themselves or actually don't ever get called by their real name anyway. For example, If I Said I Love You, which turned into Every Time I Say Goodbye, which those are actually 2 very different things. You're Not Here came relatively easy for the guys, which is always fun to have happen. It is a straight-ahead pop tune that I wrote with my friend Sally Barris here in Nashville, and actually that's not the title of that song. It actually became This House. After that, we went to lunch, which is always an adventure, trying to choose a restaurant that will make everybody happy. We're recording in this little community called Berry Hill, which is southeast of downtown Nashville. I had just moved to Nashville at that point, so, and I was writing these notes to some friends who were investors for this project. It's a little planned community developed probably in the mid-40s, 50s, but most of the houses now are either music biz offices, recording studios, or stores that sell little knickknacks like miniature sheep. Do you remember that? Remember that store? It was where it's where the Curious Emporium. Yeah, where Bowie's is. Berry Hill is right across the major thoroughfare from a soon-to-be defunct mall called 100 Oaks, which we affectionately refer to as Hundy Oaks. That slowly is losing every store because of a lack of business. Don't know the exact history, but I walked through there a couple weeks ago, and it felt a bit haunting to walk through a mall, or what's supposed to be a typical mall, with one store after another, except that all the stores are empty and closed up, except for the nail salon and pretzel place. So I got my thumbnail fixed, and I had a pretzel. Anyway, back to lunch. There are quite a few places to choose from, but we ended up going to this traditional southern barbecue joint called Judge Bean's, which is no longer there as well. It's smoking thighs, right, is there instead. Built inside of an old bungalow, backwoodsy style house in a somewhat rough part of Nashville, this place is a huge smoker outside and serves up some serious grub like Texas sushi. Say that 10 times fast. Jalapeno peppers stuffed with bacon and sausage wrapped in brisket. I'm a New England guy, so this is very confusing to me. Not really a thing you want to be eating every day of your life. The place was packed with people, as we noticed, mostly all businessmen with a few scattered musician types on break from the studio. We sat at the indoor picnic bench that was open and inside and enjoyed some downtime hanging out, breaking bread, or in this case, brisket. Upon returning to the studio, we attacked the only scheduled djembe drum song on the record, Did Not Draw. I was a bit unsure of how we were going to approach the song, having done it solo live most of its existence, and what we ended up going with was something way beyond what I imagined. We all sat in the control room listening to the rough tracks. I laid down, and Chris, the bass player, immediately grabbed his bass and ran it through this bass synth pedal, fattening the sound and making it somewhat distorted and dirty sounding. And after mapping out the song on his handy yellow pad, Andy sat behind his drum kit in the other room and played this straight-ahead rock beat that, in conjunction with my djembe part, created a fat groove that channeled some sort of 70s funk vibe. Not what I expected, but honestly amazing. Deep down, I have always wanted to just be a drummer in a funk band, and I had finally had achieved it, sort of. We added a few more tasty and necessary for funk layers to the overall mix, tambourines, etc., and the tune continued to come together. All 4 of us sat in the control room and bobbed our heads like a bunch of white boys as we listened back to what we had created. And at the end, Mitch leaned over and said, that could be the coolest thing I've ever done. I don't know about that, but do what you came here to do, but do it quick, 'cause mercy is telling you. I can see her and she'll be here as soon as the day fades to black. Your fate will shine as bright as the moon, 'cause I did not draw. I did not draw that line for you to cross over. I did not draw that line for you to cross over. Trouble is what trouble does, yeah. Stakes are high and that simple kiss comes to shove. I can see why you would sell me out when you could. The soul was getting lost and the money was getting good. But I did not draw that line for you to cross over. I did not draw that line for you to cross over. The bread has been broken, your spirit testifies. The words that trip from your mouth are the perfect disguise. Devotion only runs as deep as the mask hides. Who you truly serve and where your real intentions lie. I did not draw that line for you to cross over. I did not draw that line for you to cross over. Take the stone you willed and place it in the sand. Draw a circle around where it stands. Feel the heat from the hell that you have made. Get to know this place, 'cause this is where you're gonna stay. Did not draw that line for you to cross over. I did not draw that line for you to cross over. I did not draw that line. No. I did not draw that line for you to cross over. Come on, there we go. Yeah. Pump man. Well, it's been a joy for these shows. Let's move that back up. A joy for these shows to kind of go back and remember things that happened on the road and stories from my family. And so I've spent usually the 2 days prior to the show cramming for the songs, trying to remember them, especially ones like this one that are on the baritone guitar that I didn't even have strung and haven't had strung for a number of years. So, and I was trying to remember where this song kind of came from, and I remembered two things. I was staying down in Galveston, Texas, the place where they had the great flood of, I think it was 1900, when the whole city flooded. And I remember sitting in a hotel room, and it was in the pouring rain, and someone was walking on the beach, and I kind of just started to journal about what that person was doing, and then I found myself in Florida with my grandmother, and I want to read you something from that. February 4th, 2003. She was turning 90 today, and I could not celebrate her birthday in person. This is my mom's stepmom. I grabbed the flowers I had bought, and I made my way up to Fort Myers and was extremely surprised by the welcome I received. She gave me a big hug, and she turned off the TV evangelist she was watching and asked me to sit down. She immediately started talking about her meeting with the doctor that morning, and I was not expecting the news I heard, nor her reaction as she broke down and wept in front of me, perhaps for the first time. I held her hand and touched her back, trying to comfort her. This was supposed to be her 90th birthday celebration, but with this news, it was going to be hard to celebrate. She learned that she would have to make a decision, one that carries dire consequences. As to operate would run the risk of complications and rapid decline, but to not operate would mean the eventual closing of her valve and decline as well. Either option was not good. She kept repeating that she did not want to become a vegetable or an invalid, and that if it was her time to go, then it was her time to go. She wanted the operation because at least doing that would be proactive and it would speed up whatever process. She then changed the subject, and we called her 99-year-old friend Gladys to come and play chicken foot. 2 games later, I legitimately got my butt kicked twice by 2 90-plus-year-olds in dominoes. And Gladys left when Uncle David came, and it was exactly what Graham needed to take her mind off the news. The hour became 4:30, and that's what time you go to dinner in Fort Myers. So off we headed to her favorite place, Applebee's. It was happy hour, so Grammy got bourbon waters, 2 of them. They were more heavy on the bourbon than the water, and they were 2 for the price of 1 to go along with the massive steak that she ordered. She didn't speak much during dinner and sat rather quietly as David and I talked about music and our lives, and I wasn't sure how the next part was going to go, but the waitstaff brought her a massive strawberry sundae and an embarrassing happy birthday song, and it was then that she burst into a big smile. Maybe it was the 2 bourbon drinks. I don't know, but she finished the sundae and then she said it's time to leave, so we did. And when we got home, Grammy sat in her favorite chair, and she kept mentioning the good Lord and whether she was in His good graces, and she asked for my prayers, again, something she had never done before. And she also shared with me a prayer that she prays every morning when she wakes. She says, God, thank you for getting me through another night. And this simple prayer every night before she goes to sleep, God, thank you for getting me through another day. The simple prayers of a 90-year-old woman celebrating her birthday. We found you at midnight, alone by the bay, walking along the edge, clenching a photograph in a busted frame. Said you were talking to yourself, whispering someone's name. With your back to the skyline, the city lights shining, and your shadow dancing on the waves. Where does love go now, when its wings are torn and its feet are bound, and all it wants is to be found? Tell me, where does love go now? You started at your old house, where you both had lived for years. It's now a stranger's home, but still a place where it was clear. A snapshot from the front porch began this long night's trail of tears. This led you through your history, memory to memory, in search of how to live this love from here. found. Tell me, where does love go now? 'Cause love is big, it's bigger than life, stronger than the past, richer than the night. Yes, love has the weight to defend. It takes more than time or fate for broken wings to mend. To mend. Where does love go now? When its wings are torn and its feet are bound, watch it rise above this crying crown by amazing grace. You have, by amazing grace, you have been found. Thank you. Thanks to my friend, an old friend, Milton Brasher Cunningham, he's a great author. Actually, you know what? I did. This is my friend Milton. He's a great author. He actually has a great book he just sent me. I'm super excited about it. Oh, right here. There it is. That one right there. I don't know, Milton, when it comes out, maybe you can, Milton, maybe you can, if you're watching, you can just put a message on there. Yep. He's got some great books. Keeping the Feast is one of my favorites, right? And this one comes out soon. So, dear friend, dear old friend, and so check Milton Brasher Cunningham out. Find that book, Milton, if you're there. I don't know, not sure where you're watching, but you should type where people can find it. What's that? Yep. So one of my favorite places to play music in the world is this place called Club Passim.
Schmitty's on here.
Hey, Schmitty, what's up, brother? And one of the things that I loved about it, it was my hometown venue when I lived up in Boston before I moved to Nashville. And thank you, Mitch. Appreciate that. And one of the things that they did all the time was they would do these cover nights, where tribute nights for folks, usually people that hadn't died, but sometimes it was people that died. And they did a tribute night for Tom Waits, who I hadn't spent a lot of time with his music. But I found a song that the Blind Boys of Alabama covered on their record, and it was a Tom Waits song, and I said, I need to do that song. And it was actually a beautiful thing. I appreciate that, Smitty, that you gave us that task of finding songs, and because what happened, it was sort of the first gospel song that I kind of played that I felt like, oh, this just like internally feels deep down. Maybe it's the whole funk 70s drummer thing, I don't know, but it felt like to me, I was like, oh, this feels real nice. Real nice. Gonna be soon. He's gonna cover us up with ease and a blanket from the moon, with the promise and a vow and a lullaby for my brow. Jesus gonna be swear I've been so good, Janie Gospel. Except for that one time where I fell down and sinned and nobody knew that I would. I'm gonna leave this place better than when I found it was. Jesus gonna be, yeah, gonna be so. Jesus gonna be, yeah, gonna be, yeah. Day 8, June 29th, Nashville, Tennessee. After lunch, our friend Kenny Meeks, the guy that just sang the beginning to that song, I had to pay tribute to Kenny because he's awesome, and I just loved what he did there. After lunch, our friend Kenny Meeks came to the studio to lay down some mandolin and dobro. Kenny's an older dude who looks a little like the illustrious songwriter Bruce Cockburn. He has a witty and dry sense of humor, and it was great to get him on the project. It was also nice to get a little acoustic love on the record with all of the electric guitar madness we were laying down. I don't want to frighten y'all. Again, this was a letter that I wrote to my investors. I've made all of my albums, which is just amazing, with a handful of people over the years who have given of their financial resources to make an album. It's always a loan, which is amazing. This was before Kickstarter was cool. I had this handful of friends that, and you all know who you are if you're watching, from all the way back to my very first record, which I'll never play again, 1994, Seek Higher Ground, in which my mom really wants me to play a song off that, but I'm not going to talk about that right now. Every record pretty much since then has been paid for by the generous the gift of people believing in me and believing in what I do and supporting that by loaning me money to make the album. So I'm reading from a letter that I sent them all as the process was going. So I don't want to frighten you all, but this record is going to be a little more edgy than anything else I have done, and it's exciting. We asked Kenny to play some Mando on Tennessee Rain and Dobro on Jesus Gonna Be Here, the song I just played. The Dobro part he laid down was sloppy and all over the place, which is exactly what we asked for, giving the bluesy, somewhat haphazard sense. It was excellent. We also wanted to get him to sing on Jesus because he has a scratchy smoker's voice and knew that he would sound sweet, adding a little gospel vibe to the vocals. But I hadn't done my final vocal take yet, and you can't really record the backgrounds without the initial, like the lead vocal. So I convinced Mitch that I could nail it in one take. So he agreed, and when I went to the microphone, he said, "You have 2 takes to get it, and that's it." Thanks for that. So I pulled it out and managed to sing it solid and vibey more or less in the first take. Kenny took the mic after me and laid down his vocal part, building a 2-part harmony on key phrases to emphasize those particular lyrics. A lot like his dobro playing. It was very sloppy and gave it a southern back porchy sort of feel, which is good because I live in the South now. Back porches are important. Sometimes it doesn't even seem real that I live here in Tennessee, but sure enough, that is where I am. As I've been prepping for these shows, I will mow my yard and I will listen to the record to just kind of get it in my brain and remember. And there's actually one vocal part, if you go back and listen. Again, we're celebrating this record right here, When I Was Everything. And there's actually a part where Kenny just makes up complete nonsense words. And if you listen for it, it's really, really funny. Kenny finished up his parts, and we had enough time to lay down one of my remaining final guitar parts. As I was setting up my guitar in front of the microphone, Mitch came in and said something along the lines of, "It must feel pretty good that all of these professionals are digging your stuff." And I couldn't help but smile and say, "Yeah, it feels pretty sweet. It feels pretty sweet." woke up this morning, something had changed. Just thinking about you more than yesterday. So I flew across the country for this dinner date. It was all I could do. Stared out the window most of the way. 'Cause the world passed faster than the hours it would take me. Enough time to figure out what to say. And yet here I stand speechless in front of you. Could this be as good as it gets? 'Cause I would be satisfied just to know you smiled and we both laughed at this moment we were in. 'Cause neither of us knew where to begin. It's crazy how this world continues to spin when everything is standing still. Could this be as good as it gets? 'Cause I would be satisfied to know you are here, to know I am alive, to feel the presence of God as laughter and grace collide, to trust all that is beyond what eyes can see, to know there is more to this than just you and I can't help but wonder how often I have been blind to moments like this that have slipped right by. I won't let that happen tonight. I know you are here. I know I am alive. I feel the presence of God as laughter and grace collide. I trust all that is beyond what eyes can see. I know there is more to this than just you and I. You and I. You and Thanks.
Have some shirt reveals.
Oh, sure, maybe not yet. Why does it? Can you see a shirt?
Like the paisley, we're wondering what's underneath the paisley. We're wondering if we're gonna be shirtless at some point.
So it's that kind of show,
We
Jeannie.
reeled them in last time with all the.
Yeah, so you guys didn't see last week's, but I just had a lot of shirts on. I just kept taking shirts off, and that was multiple. And oh man, what's so funny about? Oh, that sounds great. Last So when I when I moved to Nashville, just gonna have to wait for it. When I moved to Nashville, we'll just say that I was going I was going through a bit of a crisis, different than the crisis of my late 90s. I was in my that's when I lived when I was in my late 90s. And part of that crisis was it was a lot of identity crisis things. And so I thought it would be good to the black hat. You all remember the black hat from last week and from albums 2 and 3. Well, it was time to get rid of the black hat. So I got rid of the black hat, and then I didn't know who I was without my black hat. And so I hired this woman named Kim in New York City who was a fashion consultant. And she was a fashion consultant, and she was awesome. We had an absolute amazing day. I went through New York City, and I spent like $1,000 on clothes. I've never done that since, and I never will do that again. But I came out with awesome shirts like this one, this Paisley shirt that my wife, when we were starting to date, she's like, "You cannot wear that. You may not wear that shirt in public if I'm with you." And and lots of other kinds of shirts. That's all. And some pants. And some shoes. And I still have a few of them. And this is one of them. I had 2 Paisley shirts, but I think at some point when we did a little clean out of our closet, I was like, I can't get rid of both Paisley shirts. So, Suzanne, you may choose which Paisley shirt I may keep, and this is the one. Red pants, what? Knock it off. Fashion consultant? Yeah, totally, Mandy. Not kidding around. Not kidding around. Kim, I don't know. I think Kim's still in New York, but we had a great time. I'd never actually gone shopping to like a really fancy store, and like they sit you down and they bring you beers and like they want your business. And so we tried on all these clothes, didn't buy a lot of them, but it was really, really entertaining to do that in New York City, of all places. That was, it was when I was 90. No, it was 2002 probably. If my friend Janet's watching, she took all the photos with all of these lovely clothes. No hats, Bill. I worked my way out of the hats. Once the black hat went away, it was just like, it was, what's that?
Atlas.
I was hatless. Because I knew it was coming. The eventual shaving of my head was coming, which is a great story I'm going to save for next week when Mitch isn't here. With him in it. It's so dang funny. When we recorded my Christmas album. That's just a little tease to come back next week. I did. I recorded. That's right. We recorded at your house. In July. Which is the best time to record Christmas records. But we'll talk about that next week. Actually, next week, next Thursday, Throwback Thursday, we're going to be doing this record, Unbroken Song. That's a little Christmas ornament that I don't know where, I know, I'm just letting people see. And that was when I committed to the bald right there. I kept a massive, massive goatee thing just to offset the loss of my hair emotionally. But we're going to be playing this record next week. And we're actually, my wife and I were scheming last night before we went to bed about what we're going to do. But it's probably going to involve food and festive attire and festive decorations and perhaps a present giveaway to well, we don't know yet. We haven't quite figured it out, but we've got 6 days to figure it out. So tune in next week, 9 p.m. right here, and we'll be playing through that Christmas record. And speaking of Christmas, I want to read a song. I want to read a story. This is one of the most bizarre road experiences I've ever had in my entire life, and I was so glad that I journaled about it because it was one of those moments that it was stunningly beautiful and odd as well. So September 10th, 2003. I finished the gig in Ark City, Kansas. I'm sure all of you have been to Arkansas City, Kansas. That's what they call it, actually, not Arkansas, but they call it Arkansas City, Kansas. Just why not? And was on the road at 10 p.m. back to Lubbock, Texas. Shout out to my friends, the Hegstroms, where I met them. And man, was I grateful I took a long nap that afternoon. I did not anticipate it taking me as long as it did to get to Lubbock. I guess I didn't really check my road atlas back then. And I arrived at 5:15 in the morning, and I had one of the most bizarre road experiences I've ever had in my life. Somewhere around 1:15 in the morning, I was heading down Highway 60, heading west at about 70 miles an hour on a back road. It's really smart. Kids, if you're watching, don't do that. Wondering whether there were any deer on the road, because I hadn't seen any. And for some reason, that popped into my head. And then shortly after that thought left my head, I came across one lying in the middle of the road, in the middle of my lane. I swerved around it, unsure of what it was, and I felt like I was supposed to go back, so I stopped and pulled slowly up to it, and sure enough, it was still alive. I pulled closer and rolled down the window, and it looked straight at me. I got out of the car and approached it slowly, unsure of how it was going to react. It didn't move. Its back leg was injured pretty badly, and I could see that it was bleeding from the mouth, which meant there was probably internal bleeding. So I sat there quiet, unsure of exactly what I was supposed to do. Do I wait? Do I move it off the street to die in the grass? I sat on the road next to him for a while and then got up and paced back and forth, watching as it went through the bodily motions of dying, his body shivering from the hindquarters forward rapidly, like his muscles were giving in. His rear legs kicked occasionally, and I assumed it was because of the pain he was in. He moved his head slowly across the road, dampening the pavement with blood and saliva. I patted his coat and touched his antlers that were small and still not developed, and there was no one around for miles. No cars, no houses. I hadn't seen a town for at least a half hour. No one but me and the sweet deer who was on the verge of death. It was truly a surreal moment, and one that I was thankful for, as it wasn't disturbing but rather peaceful, for the only noise I heard was the sound of my rental car engine running and the distant call of some night birds. The moon was full on this early fall night, and after 15 minutes of sitting quietly and praying as it passed from this world, I returned to my car and set back out on my journey, driving a little slower as I began to see the eyes of his companions who were eating grass on the sides of the road. I don't know why I was given the gift of that still moment in the middle of the darkness in West Oklahoma, but I will remain forever grateful. Open the door enough to pass through as the darkness was pushed to the corners of the room by your precious light and one simple tune. My silent prayer that you will speak into me, speak into me. There's no need for words. You simply let me in, like a wayward son, given the chance to begin again. By the gifts you give, the way that you lead, and how you breathe life as you here in this quiet place, resting in your sweet embrace, to feel your breath as you whisper my name, amidst the promises you speak into me, speak into me, speak into me, speak into me. Thanks. Come on. All right, it's time. It's time. Hey, what's up, Huts? My boy's home. All right, here you go. This is yeah. That's why I'm sweating so much. This shirt was I believe I don't think this came along with my friend Kim's advice, but I have a blue one as well. Y'all want to touch it, don't you? It's so soft and lovely. It's so, and I to play this next song, I need to do more than that, and yeah, here we go.
Oh my gosh.
There it is. Come on. Come on, people.
Not pleated. Someone asked if they were pleated, but
They're not pleated. Right here, baby. Come on.
Red.
Yeah, this song needs a little bit of attitude. It needs a... See, isn't that good, Paul? Doesn't it feel good? It feels so good.
Velvet.
Red pants. I love that I can still fit in these red pants. Come on. And the funny thing about my friend Jan and I, we had a great time doing this photo shoot in San Francisco. I felt so cool. I bought clothes in New York and I did a photo shoot in San Francisco. And I probably told everybody about that because it's so cool. But the funny thing about it is we did this amazing photo shoot all over the place. We took tons and tons and tons of photos. And then I brought the design idea to my friend Greg from college, and he came up with this. And we used none of the photos at all, which is so damn funny. The whole thing. Now, I need to open it because if you haven't seen this record, it makes me laugh so much. It was one of those things that was like, oh gosh. Yeah, spent all that money, thousands of dollars on clothes. And then he felt like that just because of the name of the record and the style of it, it's all just like pictures, shadowed pictures, silhouetted pictures of me in the $1,000 clothes right there. Isn't that the best? This is a really sweet jacket. And oh, sorry, to the instance, this is a sweet jacket. This is probably the red pants there. You can tell. And the only thing that we left was the I, when I is red. See, it hints at the red pants. You know what I'm saying? When I was everything. I refer to this album as the wedding album for me because I wrote it as I was. I tend to make albums when large life things happen. Like when I had a child, I wrote a record because I was like, oh my gosh, I have a child to support and I need to make some money and write some songs. And I wrote Stone Waterward Light, which is a few weeks from this evening. But this record was like, oh, when I was everything, I'm getting married. Oh my gosh, I probably need to make a record. Do it all in big batches, you know. So this is a song I wrote with my friend Brandon Heath, which is hilarious that he and I wrote this song. And it's where the title of the record comes from. Sorry that you can't see the red pants. Really? I can do the leg kick during the song. Oh, sorry.
Unnecessary.
Unnecessary. That's my boy. Anytime you should feel the need to leave, I would understand. It's hard for me even to believe that you would take me for the man I am. You must see something that no one else can see. That's why I'm giving you all of me. Giving you all of me. Should you stay? Would it make a difference if I never changed my ways? I heard you say something's gotta give, 'cause I can't figure out this mystery. If we give this thing a name, baby, love is not a game. It's bigger than you, smarter than me. And if I gotta give you something, might as well be everything. That's why I'm giving you all of me. Giving you all of me. 'Cause when I was everything, when it was only me, you know everything felt like nothing. When I was everything, when it was only me, you know everything was nothing. This ain't nothing, no, this is something. This is everything, that's why I'm giving you all. Giving you all of me. Yeah. Giving you all, giving you all. Giving you all, giving you all of me. If we give this thing a name, baby, love is not a game. No, it's bigger than you, smarter than me. If I gotta give you something, might as well be everything. That's why I'm giving you all. Giving you all of me, even the bad chords. I'm giving you all of me. Giving you all, giving you all. Giving you all of me. Yeah. Giving you all. Yeah, come on. Red pants, baby. Yeah, I don't think I've actually ever worn these pants other than for the photo shoot and right now, and maybe perhaps at Christmas here and there. Yeah.
You tried to wear it. When you were gonna take down a date and Stacy talked you out of
Serious?
it. Yeah.
Stacy, thank you, good friend. I appreciate that. My wife just said if you didn't hear,
Like in one of our first dates.
can you watch that? It's probably going to click in a minute.
Yeah.
My wife Suzanne just said that I might have tried to wear these red pants on a date with her. Was that before? That was when? Was I trying to court you at that point, or were you in?
Yeah, it was like a first. It was early January.
No, well,
We were in, but that could have ended it.
you were in. It took me a while to convince my wife to hang out with me, several months, and it's been great reading the journals about all that this last 48 hours. Did I wear them, Shabana? All right. Oh, with the fez. I also have a red fez that I like to wear on occasion. Perhaps next week I may break out the red fez. So whoever asked about the hat's coming back. A different hat. That was, I remember. Oh, yeah, that's right. For the Christmas release show, maybe I shouldn't tell that story till next week. For the Christmas release show at Club Passim, we did a gigantic gift exchange for everybody that came. Everybody brought a gift under $5 in the audience. That was part of the deal. And I ended up with a red fez, and I still wear it to this day. Not very often, usually just once or twice a year. But I think it may make an appearance next week for the Christmas show. So, do you think we could pull off a gift exchange virtually? How could we do that?
I think you could figure it out. Anyone could.
Yeah, that could be kind of fun. Yes, my friend Matt's going to head that up. I mean, it would be amazing, like a white elephant gift virtually. I don't know how you do that exactly, but... What's the comment? What do you say about the... This ain't Hollywood, right? This ain't Hollywood. Welcome to Hollywood. What's your dream?
Big mistake.
What's a big mistake?
She goes in and they won't help her, and then she goes back after return their shelter by thousands of dollars. She just shows the bags and says, "You work on commission, right?" They say, "Yeah." She's big mistake. Walks out.
Right. Love it. Maybe I'll wear some of those clothes next week too. No. I've been hearing the southbound train, wheels moving on. Seem to tell me that I've stayed here just a little too long. Even dark clouds roll away. Maybe I should do the same, for they take the last piece of my soul, for this whole town swallows me whole. I'm gonna make a stand, get out while I can, take what's left of who I am, and steal away. Leave no number, leave no name, 'cause I don't wanna wash away like this cold Tennessee rain. I've been chasing the same dream, seems that's all I do. I don't know if I will know if it even comes true. What makes a believer lose their faith sure could use some of that amazing grace, for they take the last piece of my soul, for this whole town swallows me whole. I'm gonna make a stand, get out while I can, take what's left of who I am, and steal away. Leave no number, Tennessee. Tennessee rain. Before they take the last piece of my soul, before this whole town swallows me whole, I'm going to make a stand, get out while I can't take what's left of who I am, and steal away. Leave no number, leave no name, 'cause I don't want to wash away like this cold Tennessee rain. We just got a few more songs left. That's a song about leaving Tennessee, and I had just gotten here, which is kind of funny. And little did I know that I would live near a train yard, as do all of my friends and neighbors who are gathered with me here. And I think we wrote that song. Where did we write that song? I can't remember, but it was near a train, a loud train, and now I get to hear the train just about every single night as I'm trying to fall asleep. There's a candle burning in the window, the sun's going down, but how would you know? This fading light is now a shadow, but you won't see it, 'cause nobody's home. Some houses will burn down, and this flame will burn out if you're not you're not here. Each room in this house will empty, one by one. It won't be long till I can only hear my own voice echo down these halls. This love that I feel will disappear if you're not here. If you're not here. I've never felt so lonely as when I was with you. You struck a match just to watch it burn down, left me holding this flame for you're not here, if you're not here, if you're not here, if you're not here. Come on. Thanks. All right, we got 2 more songs for you. I like to speak in the collective we all the time. Although it's been me for most of my life. Is that right? That's not right. This is week 3 of 10 in a row. And next week, as I said, is going to be the Christmas record, where the Red Pants may come back. And just wanted to let you know that that if you're enjoying yourselves this evening, I'm unable to be on the road right now, and that sucks because I love being on the road. And I love traveling. I love bringing music in a live setting to folks. But that is not possible, as we all know right now. So my wife's going to post... Oh, you already have. It's at the top. If you're enjoying yourself and you're able to tip or to support my music career during this crazy time, that would be awesome on Venmo or PayPal. And also have a store that you can buy these things called compact discs. And we've been selling tons of T-shirts, which is awesome because I need some attic space upstairs. And as we have offered the last 2 weeks, anybody who buys anything, because I still have so many of these cassette tapes, will get a free cassette autographed by me. 1996, 1-man service station right here. 1996. If you haven't tuned in, yes, limited edition. There's about 34 of them now in my attic. The goal is after this 10 weeks, I will have none of these in my attic. That's the goal. I do, actually. The funny thing is, I do it right over there. Oh, you know. No, I don't sell a tape player. But just like 10 feet from me here, between my friend Jeannie and my friend Matt, next to my son Hudson, there are all of my cassettes that I still have. Yeah. And including all of the mixtapes. Bill Sinkinson, you know what I'm talking about. From freshman year of college and beyond. And I was reading today, actually, about the mixtapes that I made for my wife as I was trying to convince her to hang out with me. Actually, I wasn't, I sort of was, but I wasn't. And I was writing about this in my journal about the groove. I made these mixtapes called Groove, G-R-U, with a, what's the thing? Umlaut over the U and a V. It was pretty awesome. It was very creative. And I still have all those down there. So if you want to order anything off the store, ChristopherW.com/shop, and cassettes coming at you. Hand signed by me and envelopes hand stuffed by me. Got 2 more songs. Oh, one other thing. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah, I have a music page on Facebook, not for you Instagram folks, but, if you want to. But on the Facebooks, I have a official music page. So if you have a moment now while I read this next thing, you want to go jump over there and find it and like it and all that stuff. I'll probably bounce all these over there at some point. But right now, they're on my personal page, but I've run out of friends. Mark said I could only have 5,000, and I'm almost there. So I'll end with these 2 songs. And before I do, I very rarely am inspired by stories from other people, but my brother turned me on to this guy, Wallace Stegner. He's one of the great American authors. And if my brother's watching, Rob, he'll be very psyched that I'm showing this book. But he is one of my favorites. My brother wrote, I think, his doctorate, or I don't know what he did. He wrote some big paper on Wallace Stegner, and so I've read a lot of his books. And there was one in this particular time I was trying to find songs to write, or things to write about, and I was struck by the story. It's just from the short story collected stories of Wallace Stegner, and it's called "Women on the Wall." And I wanted to read it just to give some context. He's such a brilliant author, so here. This will drop into the middle of the story. Mr. Palmer had been away from the States a long time. He found the noises on the point familiar, nostalgic, and reassuring in this time of war, and felt as if he had come home. Though California differed considerably from his old home in Ohio, he fell naturally and gratefully into its procession of morning and afternoon, its neighborhood routines, the pleasant breathing of its tides. When anything outside broke in upon his writing, it was generally a commonplace and familiar thing. Mr. Palmer looked up and took pleasure in the interruption. One thing he could be sure of seeing every morning but Sunday, the section was outside the city limits, and mail was delivered to a battery of mailboxes where the sunken lane joined the street. The mail arrived at about 11. About 10:30, the women from the beach club apartments began to gather on the stone wall. Below the wall was the beach, where the tides leaned in all the way from Iwa and Okinawa. Above it was the row of boxes, where as regularly as the tide, the mail carrier came in a gray car and deposited postmarked flotsam from half a world away. Sometimes Mr. Palmer used to pause in his writing and speculate on what these women thought of when they looked out across the gumdrop blue water and the brown kelp, and remembering that across this uninterrupted ocean their husbands fought and perhaps bled and possibly died, that in those far islands it was already tomorrow, and that green water breaking against the white foot of the beach might hold in suspension minute quantities of the blood shed into it thousands of miles away, that the Japan current, swinging in a great circle up under the Aleutians and back down the American coast, might as easily bear the mingled blood or the floating relics of a loved one lost as it could bear the glass balls of Japanese net floats that it sometimes washed ashore. Watching the women with their dogs and children waiting patiently on the stone wall for that most urgent of all the gods, that Mercury in the gray uniform, Mr. Palmer thought a good deal about Penelope on the rocky isle of Ithaca above the wine-dark sea. He got a little sentimental about these women. Sometimes he was almost frightened by the air of patient, withdrawn seriousness they wore as they waited, and the unsmiling alacrity with which they rose and crowded around the mailman when he came. And when the mail was late, and one or two of them sat out on the wall until 11:30, 12, sometimes 12:30, Mr. Palmer could hardly bear it at all. Waiting, Mr. Palmer reflected, must cause a person to remove to a separate and private world like sleep or insanity. Waiting must have the faculty of making the real unreal and remote. It seemed to Mr. Palmer pathetic and somehow thrilling that these women should have followed their men to the very brink of the West and should remain here now with their eyes still westward. Patiently and faithfully, suspending their own normal lives until the return of their husbands. Without knowing any of the women, Mr. Palmer respected and admired them. They did not invite his pity. Penelope was as competent for her waiting as Ulysses was for his wars and his wiles. I can't imagine what it must be like to be a mother, to give a child life. They breathe the air you breathe before they know to speak. You give them everything, you are their story. And the women on the wall breathe quiet desperation. For words to find them. We all have stories that speak who we are. Some wait to be told, some talk with no regard. It's those who never say, they wait and softly pray. Their silence gives some hope. Every story will be told. And the women on the wall breathe quiet desperation. on the wall wait for words to find them. On their stone wall they wait for letters full of light, coming across the wounded sea are no stories of victory. No mother should have to hear how death confirms her fear. Her one and only son, lost for a freedom not yet won. And the women on the wall breathe quiet desperation. The women on the wall wait for words to find them. I can't imagine what it must be like to live your story after your child died. When your eyes grow weak with sorrow from all the wreckage they've seen, when you flood your bed with the tears you shed, crying out for mercy, when the skies turn silent and your voice is all you hear, when those words fall short of how you feel, know that I am near. Yes, I am here. Yes, I am here. When the night crawls towards the morning, for every soul still found awake, when that moment stretches a lifetime, it's not for you to carry Yeah. Thank you guys. Thanks for hanging out. Thank you. To my friends Paul, my friend Kayla, my friend Matt, my friend Jeannie, my friend Rich, and my wife Suzanne. Thank you guys for tuning in. Let's do this again for another 7 weeks. How about it? We'll see you next week for the Christmas album, Unbroken Song. And if you know of anyone that would enjoy these evenings, please. The recording will be on Instagram and the recording will be on Facebook indefinitely. So pass it along to folks and maybe that it would be a comfort to them, especially that last song, which is funny because I wrote it in thinking about 9/11. And as I was singing it, as I was writing the song actually, all I could do was kind of, as I was watching everything unfold, was just play those chords over and over again. And I said to my friend Linda, who was watching earlier, I said, what does this feel like? And she said, it feels like a psalm. And so I grabbed the book of Psalms from the Bible and I just started reading until that line that David has. He said, when you flood your bed with tears. And I was like, boom, that's it. And so the whole song fell out. And as I was singing it, I was thinking that second verse, an amazing time of 9/11 when all the planes were grounded and the beginning of this crazy pandemic had that feel, because we live in the flight pattern, as you can hear a plane fly over right now. But in those first couple of weeks after the pandemic started, there were not really any planes in the air, and it was sort of this eerie quiet that I really grew to love and enjoy. But as I was singing, that reminded me of it. So we're in a strange season right now, and we're all in that strange season. So be kind to one another, and thanks for tuning in, and look to the Psalms if you need encouragement. That's where I found mine. So blessings to you, and we'll see you again next week. See you later.